Well,
Do, do, do,
there
do.
goes my X notification. So
Well,
we're good there.
that's good.
But of course,
That's
nothing on Face Smack.
Well, I'm getting a little perturbed at Facebook, although, that's half of our audience. But it just seems like I don't know why Facebook implemented this policy of deleting the live content, but they seem, at least for now, to be perfectly fine with keeping published content. So I could take this show and after the show, upload a copy to Facebook, and they're fine with retaining that, but not the live copy, even though the storage amount is the same. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just, you know, technical, technical crap.
Boy, they sent me a survey here the other day, and I let them have it.
Oh, Facebook did?
Yeah, I unloaded on them. They was like, what can we do better? And I was, well, I can't believe I'm not off Facebook yet, but I told them to consult with Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we do all this work and make all these posts, and, we've announced it before, but, for a while we've been monetized on it. And, we make, I don't know, 10 cents a video, 10 cents a show. Isn't that like,
Woohoo!
isn't that like child wages in China type money or something?
Yeah, boy, howdy! I tell you, we're gonna be making it in the big house soon enough, making the big bucks.
Yeah. And,
For
look, it helps pay some of the bills because, like we've said over and over, we pay for a lot of the software we use and different stuff like that. And, so in the end, it does help offset a little bit of that cost. But, you look at it and you go, we spend hours getting ready for a show, doing all this, blah, 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 and get paid, like 50 cents for it or whatever.
not even a cup of coffee yet, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Hey, I notice you're sporting a new shirt.
How about that? Somebody,
Yeah.
somebody hooked me up today. Got to get this
That
camera right here.
I'll have you know that was handmade by me, literally.
How see?
Hand pressed.
That's even more important than what's on it.
Yeah, and I even got the logo, well, fairly straight.
Yeah, and it actually. How is that? It's reading correctly across my camera. Huh?
Oh, the magic wizardry of the camera. Look, my Glock sign back there reads the right way.
It
It's
does. It
it's got
does.
the ability to mirror in
How
real
about
time.
that?
Yeah.
Well, what are we gonna talk about today? Is there anything going on in Bossier?
Well,
Anything?
I thought the city council meeting was going to have a few fireworks, actually, and I guess I'm glad to say that it really didn't have any fireworks. That gives us less to talk about tonight, but that's fine. We had the swearing in ceremony.
Oh
There was
yeah, that was
that.
fun. That was
Yeah,
fun.
and Tommy took credit for the term limits. Did you
Good
hear that
job.
in his
Yeah,
in his
good
inaugural address?
good job, Tommy. I don't know what we would have done without you.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting up from my chair to go find you so we could make our way to the front to be able to accept our award for helping launch the term limits initiative along with everybody's help. But alas, Tommy did not credit any of us. He announced it as one of his accomplishments. Good job, Mr. Chandler.
Well, and then there's that audit thing that came up today too. And
Yeah,
that was a campaign promise. Hmm.
yeah. But look, at the swearing in ceremony, was it Lewis Johnson that came up to me? Oh no, it was Miss Jane Smith. Said we needed to talk positive, that there were positive things going on, and I reminded her that if she wanted positive stuff, she could go hang out at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. That's not really what we did, but but with all due respect to Miss Jane, I do want to share something positive. The lady that belted out the national anthem at that swearing
Holy
in,
schmoly.
wow, she
Yeah.
belted it out
Who,
outstandingly well.
who was she? I didn't catch her name. I didn't hear her,
I
but
didn't either, and I didn't have one of the programs, but I'm just saying,
it was
it.
phenomenal.
Yeah, she did a unbelievably good job.
Yeah, no
So,
doubt. No
so
doubt.
there, Miss Jane. we said something positive on this show. We don't
Yeah,
just
hey, there.
gripe all the time.
That's right. That's right. There are positive things. There definitely is. I mean, but not everybody wants to hear the positive. They all want to hear the negative. I don't know why. Or maybe it's just that nobody wants to talk about the negative, so therefore people won't know about the negative, and therefore they are um, not informed. And the negative stuff is what informs people. And I would say that as a result of an overabundance of negative stuff for a quite a while, we were able to see a multi-century change in Bossier City today.
Well, yeah, and the credit goes to a lot of people, including all you folks out there that are watching now or that watch after the fact or whatever, even if you don't always agree with us, but collectively together, we have all um, basically forced the change. And look, you and I have our soapbox here every Tuesday night or most Tuesday nights, and we get the fun part of griping about stuff, and I guess that's easy enough to do. But I want everybody to know that I really did enjoy. I usually don't do what I call the dog and pony shows, the meetings like today and the swearing in ceremonies, but I'm glad I went because I got the feeling that we're on the cusp of real positive change. Doesn't mean we're always going to agree with it, but I think we're on the right track.
I would agree with that. It just I I could sense that change in the air. It was palpable.
Right. Yes, it
It was
was.
palpable.
All right. Well, you want to go ahead and let's do the little intro deal to help out, with the
Yeah,
logos and all that sort of thing.
yeah,
And
because I need to share a couple of places, and I haven't done that yet.
okay. Well, folks, y'all know the drill. For 200 and some odd shows, we're going to hit the little intro. We will be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. Pop some popcorn, text everybody, let them know we've got some interesting information about Seabiscuit's quote that we talked about. We're going to take a deep dive into the AG. Remember our good friend Rusty Lombardino, and we'll talk a little bit about Caddo and the new and improved City Council. We will be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. Here we go.
A lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating. So I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
And I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse.
Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS.
We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks.
Through conscious, shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And here we are, back again.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to cover. Where do we want to go first? Do we want to go first to the Caddo Commission and my goodness, what they've had transpiring over there, or do we want to go to Seabiscuit and a little bit? We need to follow back up on that from our last show, or do we want to go to Bossier City still?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't know. Let's do the Caddo Commission. We'll get that out of the way. Really won't take long because that's been, on other social media outlets and it's been on Keel and they've been covering it pretty good. So we can go to that first. Hey, I do want to share one thing out real quick. So hold on. Let me see here. There we go. So y'all seen us post this a little bit on Facebook, but we do have an online storefront. Some of the items, most of the items are print on demand, which means when you order them, it's printed and then shipped to you. So you usually get it in 7 to 10 days. Some of the items, like I've got some of these cool hats literally in hand. And then I've got some more being embroidered as well. And so I'll have those here in a couple of days. But y'all check out the shop.bossierwatch.com. That is the official apparel of Bossier Watch, which Mr. Lowry is so graciously modeling for us.
Groovy. So the Caddo Commission meeting got it was pretty good. It was there were some barbs being thrown and
few little fireworks. So let me switch screens around here. Let's see. Let me hit that one. And I think this is it. So I just just kind of did a quick edit of this. So this isn't the full meeting's like 2 hours, so this is just an excerpt. But what they're discussing here, and I hope I'm saying this right, Chris Crackman, if I'm not, text me and let me know. But basically, they're trying to have some new early voting locations. One of them is in North Caddo because they have to drive like an hour to go early vote. This North Caddo location has already been approved by the Secretary of State's office, and apparently they want to do an early voting location on the west side of Shreveport. And hey, I get it, I understand, but that has not been approved from the Secretary of State yet. So they're trying to anchor these two together to keep one from being implemented until the other one is. Anyway, it's a hot mess. And I got to give Stormy Gage Watts, the Caddo Commission president, she is pretty quick on the trigger there. So y'all watch and follow along for just a second.
I would like to propose a substitute motion. Listen carefully, please. Advance authorizing the administrator to pursue the implementation of the North Caddo early voting sites for the 2025 for the 2025 election cycle and the West Caddo voting sites for the 2026 election cycle.
All right, listen up.
And,
It dies for a lack of a second.
Did y'all catch that? It may have been hard to hear,
What?
but she said,
Wait a minute.
she said
What?
the motion dies for lack of a second. I mean, he literally shut his mouth, count to 2. She announced that the motion dies for lack of a second.
Holy crap.
Oh yeah. And it gets better. So listen to this. So see, it's not just Bossier City that does this crap.
No, you can't do that. You cannot do that.
Point of clarity. You mentioned in your substitute motion for 2025 and 2020.
Wait. You can't just kill it because of lack of a second. You literally didn't let anybody get the second out of their mouth. And so they banter back and forth and it goes.
Let me clarify my intent. I'm just trying to, in my view, the 2025.
It's crazy.
But when you have people doing this kinds of thing, there has to be accountability. But and that goes to the bigger issue when you people in elected office or they start getting emboldened to do more when they see that there's not going to be any accountability. I mean, things are only going to continue to devolve and get worse, and you'll see more of this kind of thing. I mean, we're
Yeah.
encouraging this.
All right, so next up to the plate is our good friend Chris Crackman, who we've had on the show a couple of times. Pretty good dude. He's the Caddo commissioner for the North Caddo area. So so it was his turn to speak about it, and he and Stormy Gage Watts kind of go tit for tat. Y'all listen up to this.
But I do know that the North Caddo location is already a polling location. It meets all the requirements, whatever they may be. And the folks in North Caddo deserve that. And we passed that resolution unanimously. We made an amendment to put it in the name of Commissioner Hopkins. It passed the state. Our administrator endorsed it. It passed with flying colors. And now we're trying to sync it by tethering it together with this other one. I don't understand that. We say that we want folks to be able to vote and that we support early voting, but not in North Caddo. That's what we just said.
What we will not do
is interrupt me.
And you will not talk. If you want to talk to a commissioner, if you want to talk about the issue that we're discussing, okay, thank you. But we will not talk to each other in that manner.
My time.
So, I mean, this is straight up soap opera here. If y'all have not watched any of the Caddo Commission meetings, and I got to say, their audio is pretty good. Boy, it's pure entertainment gold, too.
Yeah, I mean, man, they're getting after it. I mean, I don't know who this Stormy person is or what have you, but yeah, she was like quick on the draw to say, dies for motion, quick, or lack of a motion, lack of a second.
Yeah, and they also discussed the whole Bernie Sanders resolution debacle, which is where they all signed off on a resolution without a meeting at all. Y'all probably heard that on Keel and some other places too. Anyway, so they voted for that motion to go forward. This was a work session, so they voted for that motion to go forward on Thursday's official Caddo Commission meeting. So there you go. There's a Caddo Commission in a nutshell.
I don't know. It seems like it's a growing trend in places for people to want to limit speech or prevent people from speaking, and just like in this case right here, her slamming the gavel down, she didn't want it. That's why she closed off the time on it, and that not a second, because she was hoping that maybe it would just go away. And trying to limit discussions. And I'm going to give another example when we get over here talking about Bossier of we're trying to limit speech. And I think there's probably going to be people watching. Rex, you might not even agree with me with what I'm going to say, but I got to say, I will just wait till we get there. I'm not going to let it slip just yet.
All right. So our good friend Ryan Haygood says he needs to take his hat off in a meeting. No, actually he doesn't, but that's beside the point. I mean, I'm respectful. I'll wear a ball cap most of the time. I'm respectful during the pledge, of course, the prayer, the national anthem, the whole thing. But if Crackman wants to wear his hat, or the other commissioners that are sitting there, more power to them. There's no rule or law that says you can't. Anyway, I digress. So we're going to disagree. Is that correct, Mr. Lowry?
Maybe. I don't know. We may not. I mean, I have a different perspective.
I was going to start sharpening my claws over here.
Oh, well, you can sharpen up. I mean, hey, did y'all see the KTBS thing about, I'm assuming it was a quote from Landry or from somebody where they said, because I didn't actually get to see it, but somebody sent it to me and I hadn't watched it yet, but supposedly a statement was made. We tried to rein in lawyer advertising, the billboards. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering, should they be able to advertise or not? Or, I mean, I think we covered this a little bit in the previous show. A lot of people think they shouldn't.
Well, I see. I've got a different take on that. Of course, I lean kind of libertarian on a lot of stuff, and so I always lean towards, hey, if they should have the right to free speech, hence advertise as they want. Now, doesn't mean I agree with what the premise of some of what the billboard lawyers are trying to peddle is necessarily, but if they want to advertise, let them advertise. Doesn't mean you have to watch the ad. Look, I'll tell you one that probably a lot of people are going to raise their hair up with me. Citizens United, the Supreme Court decision. I don't have any problem with Citizens United with that decision. I think if corporations want to dump a cajillion dollars into advertising, the shareholders or the individuals have every right to do that. It doesn't mean that we all have to fall for the advertising. Now, that is obviously a problem, but from a free speech standpoint, I don't disagree with it. So,
but we all can become hypocrites in the snap of a finger.
Oh.
In the snap of a finger, pick whatever thing you find to be one of the most offensive things, and you get into, does somebody have the right to do that or not, or to say what they think, or to say, or what have you. You may not agree with it, but do they have the right? Palestinians, do the Palestinians have a right to advertise that, well, not kill the infidel? What would be something to say? Free Palestine. Should they be able to advertise the hell out of that if they wanted to advertise it? Well, if you feel that way, yeah, you probably should. But there does have to be some checks and balances, right?
Well, but we already have existing laws, and and TV stations and broadcast media already have rules in place for what they will and won't allow. Look, just because somebody comes to us with an advertisement, let's say they want to advertise Free Palestine on this show on Bossier Watch, and let's say they wanted to throw 50 grand at us to be able to do it. We have the right to refuse to let them advertise on this podcast.
Well, that's right, and it just goes back to the billboard lawyers. I mean, if you cut them off, the problem is not the lawyers. The problems are the people, not doing enough homework, not studying into the issue, not, utilizing what they're selling to go out and screw all the rest of us. And they're allowing themselves to be caught up in it, and it's happening every day.
And the argument can be, oh, well, yeah, but people they see these ads and they get convinced. Well, if people are that gullible, I mean, it's a lost cause anyway. It's kind of my feeling on it. And I want to put up a comment here that your good wife, Kara, the loan officer, says. She says, no, businesses should be limited in their donations just like individuals are. I don't think individuals should be limited. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's what I say. Everybody, I think, will find themselves on a little bit of a different. I can make a case on both sides of the issue and on every side of the issue. But at the end of it, it comes down to which way I lean stronger towards. But but my overriding point of this is Caddo. That is an example of what's happening over there. Is they're trying to steer the debate, control what comes out, what's said, what's not said. I mean, that's what she was doing. The same thing with this billboard thing, right, wrong, however you feel with the trial lawyers. I mean, they're just going to advertise somewhere else. I don't think it's going to completely solve the problem. Do I think it's a contributing factor to the excessive lawsuits? Yeah, I definitely do, without a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
But somebody else has a hand in this. And, I want to segue us into this Bossier Republican women's meeting, because there was a statement there that is everything we're talking about here on steroids. And this is where probably you and a lot of other people are going to disagree with me, and y'all are going to be like, oh, hell no. But there's going to be some people that do agree with me.
Okay.
So
let's have it. Take us down the pathway, Mr. Lowry. The pathway of disagreement.
Okay. So last show, if y'all were watching last show, y'all middle of the show, somebody texted and they said, hey, Alan Seaball, aka Seabiscuit, is over here at the Republican Women, and he's speaking, and they said he called out the term limits people and called them useful idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I hear the text messages are ringing already. Is that Seabiscuit texting? Does he want to come on the show?
I'd about fall out of my chair and probably break my neck if that happened. But anyway, so I'm getting messages about these comments that the Biscuit is making at the Republican women, and that he's describing, the term limits people as useful idiots, and okay, if y'all were watching last week, I kind of lost my crap. I started going off on it. I probably went a little too far, maybe, but you know what? It made me mad, and I'm still irritated about it. I'm still irritated.
And not just that, it gave us another excuse to talk about and make fun of Seabiscuit. Come on, people.
That's
what
right.
we do.
So, but here's the rub. So, in all fairness, the next day I got several calls, and several people were saying that, hey, that ain't. I don't think that's what he said. I don't think that's what he said. It's kind of like, but they weren't exactly 100% sure. They were like, I didn't put two and two together. I kind of didn't, whatever. But I did have a couple of people call and say he didn't say that, and I said, okay. I said, well,
all right. But hold up for a second. So let me make sure I'm clear and unclear from last week. Do we know if, and maybe I'm jumping the gun, so just pause me, but do we know, did he say the Bossier Term Limits Coalition or Bossier Term Limits people are useful idiots?
He didn't say, according to what I'm hearing, he didn't say the Bossier term limits. His words were all jumbled up, and I haven't been able to get a clear, exact word for word of exactly the words he used. But here's the thing: in the context and I reconfirmed from a couple of people that said that they were there, that said, yeah, he did say it. And they went further to say this is how he framed it. He framed it as the term limits people, and the people who were saying he didn't say it were saying, well, he was talking about the We the People. They're the We the People group.
Okay. Yeah.
Their members came over, helped collect signatures in Bossier with the term limits thing. They came over and helped it during the election for the council, council members over here, the pro term limits council. Anyway, so he was kind of mixing them up, and basically was saying he described one group as useful idiots, and then he said, and you have this other group, is what I'm being told his exact words were. So either way, it's pretty irresponsible, in my opinion, for you're going to go out there and you're disparaging people who are getting active in their community, activists. How do you do that?
It's like Richard Ray, another lawyer, so to speak, reminded us, and we've said it ad nauseum on the show, words matter. And you would think Seabiscuit, being the insurance industry attorney that he is and legislator, would know to keep those types of words crystal clear in what his meaning was. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely, it's fair to say. And in regards to the We the People, he apparently made some comments talking about them and being useful idiots in the context of mail-in ballots. Because they want these mail-in ballots, and they're just useful idiots. Well, if we want to go down the election road, and you and I went down this a long time ago, and we have a little bit of a disagreement on some of the election issue stuff. I don't think we're too far off, but as time goes on, I think we all are coming to the conclusion that there are problems in our elections. I think everybody would agree with that.
Yes.
So, but here's my thing. His conclusion, and unfortunately, I'm afraid this is the case for a lot of legislators. And if you're a legislator and you're a friend of mine, you shouldn't take offense to this. But the truth of the matter is I don't think they're educated on the issues. I don't think they're knowledgeable. Yeah. And Alan Seaball, aka Seabiscuit, he's not educated on the issue to make the comments regarding the mail ballots and the We the People as being useful idiots. And in saying that, that was, and he supposedly said that that's where all the fraud was. That's where the Democrats cheat, is in the mail ballots. Well, here's what I have to say to that. Was there a high propensity of illegal ballots and all that crap in the mail ballots? Yeah, there was, probably more so than what was found in the machines. But let me make this statement, and I want y'all to listen to what I'm fixing to say, and I want you to think about it. Okay, I texted this to somebody earlier, and I was like, "Damn, that's good. I I achieved good here." But listen to this: preferring ignorance of cheating over knowledge of cheating is the definition of being a useful idiot. So if you prefer and you think that, well, we don't want to have a mail ballot because we can go back to the paper, we can determine if the paper was an original paper or not. We can determine if the mark was computer generated or human. We can determine if the scanner miscounted those. We can go back and do all of that with a human without a machine if we choose. But if you do it by the machine, I would admit that you didn't find the problems with the machines like you did with the mail ballots. Well, why is that? It's because, can we get into the machines and check anything? We're limited more legislatively and by rules and prevented from being able to access all of the machines and stuff. And oh, by the way, they have these delete features to eliminate all of the data at a certain point shortly thereafter. Whereas the paper, it's mandated in many cases to be held on for years. And if there's any kind of legal action, it's mandated to be held on to even longer, so that you are afforded the opportunity to determine whether there was fraud or whether there was not. So if you don't want to know, you just say, I want to prefer to be ignorant, and rather than having knowledge that there actually was cheating and have the ability to catch it.
So let me pose a question to you and to everybody watching, so y'all can go ahead and light up the comments here in just a second. Should we even have mail-in ballots, mail-in voting?
Well, that is the problem. In the majority of the states where you had the cheating with the paper, they didn't check the IDs. There's
Right.
no ID verification.
I mean, period. Beyond the verification and checks and all that, we've talked about that before too. Should we have mail-in ballots at all? Because just a quick remembrance of history, I think the mail-in ballots started during colonial times, and then I think really it started to accelerate around the Civil War period, mainly for soldiers or whatever. But should we allow mail-in ballots for anybody, let's just say outside the military or government officials that may be abroad?
I'm going to go out and say that no, one day, one vote. You show up, you vote at the polls, you present an ID. That's how we validate it. I mean, I'm sorry.
And if you're in North Caddo, but see the North Caddo issue, kind of, jumping back to that for just a second. The problem is the early voting, they've got to drive about 50 minutes or something to get to that. But there are polling places in those areas and on the west side of Shreveport. So during the actual election, they don't have far to travel, just like here in Bossier Parish.
Right. Right.
So
So
I don't disagree with you on that. I've kind of long thought that it's more convenient, but look, if we have all this trouble with the mail-in ballots, maybe we should just eliminate them. What do you folks think? In the comments, let us know.
yeah. So here's where the rubber meets the road, and some of y'all are going to disagree with me, and some of you are going to. He goes on to talking, and there's a lot here. I'm not done. This is, y'all bear with us here. He goes on to talking, and he started complimenting, as I'm told, the mayor of Bossier City for putting his, as I've told, allegedly, these are his words. I don't know exactly what his words were, but I'm saying what I told, that Mayor Tommy Chandler put his foot down to make sure Bernie Sanders couldn't have an event in Bossier City near MJ Walk on Water's home.
Yeah, well, I've heard that as well from multiple sources that, he was supposed to have it at the Civic Center over here or something and then wasn't allowed. So, whatever.
Well, I mean, look, it's politics. I know for a fact he did. He was trying to come to Bossier to have an event, and he was trying and wanting to come to
They,
Bossier to do
they should
it
they should have
because
let
it's
him.
Mike. Because it's Mike's on the. Yeah,
Why not?
they should have let him. So see, we don't agree. I mean, we agree. We agree.
Yeah.
But my point is here we are. We're controlling speech.
Right.
We you know,
Yeah, we can't be
isn't
hypocritical about it, and we're supposed to be conservative Republicans and champions of free speech and everybody do the right thing and do their own, yet we're trying to control the narrative. And look, if that's true, look, I think Bernie Sanders is batshit crazy and a hypocrite because he talks about the oligarchy and the rich people, but he's been enriching himself quite a bit since he, became a senator
no
40
doubt.
decades ago. So I think he's a complete hypocrite, but it plays good with his base. And I was watching him on the Joe Rogan podcast the other day, and Rogan was just like looking at him like, whatever. But my point is, we should not have disallowed him the use of public facilities if they were available. And, even if there's a rental fee or whatever there is for the Civic Center, if he was willing to pay it, let the lunatic speak.
I agree. I don't think there's anything that I agree with the man on or whatever, but what I do agree with is his right to speech, and even if it is here, I mean, I don't know, but limiting it in the name of Mike Johnson, walk on water,
Well,
no. I mean,
and look,
is that not in fact part of an oligarchy controlling
well,
speech?
and your wife is keeping us on point here that Mike Johnson is not actually from Bossier. He's from Shreveport.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
I mean, this deal about Bernie, I mean, it was prevented because of Mike. I mean, what can nobody be critical of Mike? I
Yeah,
mean,
he can't stand up for himself. Come on.
I mean, look, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, we just had how much more trillions did we just vote on for going in debt?
The
Anyway,
big beautiful bill.
No,
The
another
dumbest
yeah,
name for a
no.
bill ever, and I voted for Trump. I might actually vote if he runs for a third term, but big beautiful bill that's putting us $2 trillion further in debt. Yeah, that's big and beautiful. All right, lots of B's into the T's.
Yeah, so the biscuit wasn't done, and here's where we're getting into the bread and butter. the biscuit wasn't done. So he went on to address some other things, and he brought up, that there's comments being made about the Attorney General, Liz Murrow.
Yeah, lots of comments by lots of people,
and such as, and this is what I was told, the term limits people, saying the AG was going to charge or prosecute Bossier City Council members. Now, I don't recall ever saying that the AG was going to prosecute Bossier City, Bossier City Council members.
I said she should have.
She should have probably said that, but I don't think anybody said that she was. So he goes on to say that anyone that was saying that, that they're, and anybody is repeating it, they're basically useful idiots as well too. And
well, I guess, look, Seaball, I think I've said this before, but he's like in the Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes cartoon, the little chihuahua that bounces around the bulldog, he's a yard yapper. That's what he's really good at.
Yeah,
and look, we get on here and yard yap every Tuesday night too.
We do.
I'm not going to be hypocritical, and I'll give Seaball credit. At least Seaball won't back down. But we're the same.
Fights.
We're the same in person as we are here, and he's just the little yard yapping chihuahua.
Yeah, but here's the problem: that yard yapping chihuahua just cost us how much stuff in HB2? The governor just vetoed what? I mean, I don't know the number, but that yard yapping.
A lot of our tax dollars we could have got back up here in the north
there's getting to be a consequence for that yard yapping. And so anyway, I wasn't going to, I mean, let's keep going, plugging along here, because this criticism of the AG thing, we got to get to the bottom of this. And all of you watching, you need to understand this. Words matter, right? Words matter. So he goes on to say that investigating embosure or investigating council members or whatever way he phrased it is not her role, that's the DA's role. And that, that's basically the law.
Yeah, not to give away too much, because I know you're fixing to kind of deep dive into it, but that's not exactly correct. I know that from the Robert Berry issue.
Well, if he puts the message out there that she can't, that's the DA's sole role, the DA is the only one, is he trying to convert people into useful idiots? Is he trying to do...
Is it the pot calling the kettle black?
Is he trying to do what he was just saying a while ago that other people were trying to do? So, you know what? The good news is everything he's talking about, there's laws. It's in black and white, and we can pull it up.
There's local case history and study on it. Hey, Alan, get out of paying attention to State Farm insurance industry law and just search the Robert Berry case. I mean, it was right up here at the Cypress District, right up the road. All right, but I digress.
Hang on just a moment.
Okay. Well, yeah, so now I can get back on my soapbox about Robert Berry, and I promise I won't bore you with that too long, but he was actually at the swearing-in ceremony. All the muckety-mucks were there, which it was a good ceremony. I thought it went well. All right.
Yeah.
So back to the AG.
Okay. So, I was like, and I already knew this, but I was like, okay, I got to get ready, because I'm going to have to come back on this show and we're going to have to explain this to folks, because he's telling people that the AG can't. And look, I make no bones about it. I have been being extremely critical of the AG, and I'm going to continue to be very critical of the AG. And I plan to try to do some more things and I hate to say it this way, because I like Liz. I did. I like her.
Yeah, we had her on the show.
I mean, but damn, at some point, you can't just keep ignoring things up here. And I believe that's what's happening.
So at the swearing-in ceremony, Miss Jane came up, we were chit-chatting, and she was defending Liz, and being nice about it. But I just told her, I said, Miss Jane, I said, the problem is, I said, on the good side, Liz appears to be consistent, because not only is she ignoring the whole Caddo situation, literally ignoring it, and you can listen to her quotes on Keel and all that and see, but she's following the exact same playbook. She's consistent in it. She ignored everything that's happened over here in Bossier. Irrefutable proof. It's not like you have to do that much of an investigation. There are public meetings or lack thereof. They either happened or they didn't, and certain other things happen. It's not that hard to actually investigate. So don't give me that crap. But anyway, so I told Miss Jane, I said, look, I understand, Liz is a nice person and all that. She seemed to be a good candidate for the AG's office, but she's just sitting on her laurels.
Well,
over this stuff.
As someone in the comments pointed out, she sure jumped into the Bernie Sanders resolution in Caddo. Everybody can draw their conclusions as to why, but
but I think she was getting a heck of a lot of heat on that, but she sloughed it off. Again, we posted it. Go listen to her interview on Keel. See what she actually says on Keel. It was like astounding.
Yeah, no doubt. So back on point to about what her powers are and what her powers are not. Seaball is saying it's not her role, it's not her job, she can't, it's all the DA. So for all of you out there, and there's a lot of y'all that I know, you have filed complaints, you've gotten nothing, and because many of you we've talked, and I have a list of people, and just like I told each of y'all that I was in communication, with someone at the AG's office about putting a meeting together for all of you, not just one person, but all of you to address these issues, to which, unfortunately, they have just went dark. They would rather ignore me, ignore all of you, that you just don't even exist. It's like we don't even exist. So you know what? I'm going to continue to keep talking about it. I'm going to continue to keep doing things, and until they suddenly decide that they're going to recognize things in Bossier that people from Bossier, when they file a complaint, and you're not just going to ignore us. And that is the most insulting thing. You can bet your ass come next election, going to be right up here wanting everybody's votes in Bossier. And I'll bet there'll be a million mail pieces to counteract everything. But back on point. I'm getting off. Sorry, y'all.
Well, no, look, it's a very valid point. We've seen it over and over and over, where politicians tend to ignore you till they need you, till they need your vote, or need to come on here and have a platform to help gin up some support. And that's just not the way it should be. But I digress as well. So let's move forward, and because I know you got some pretty good notes here on the law, and dive
so
into
I went to digging on this, and I kind of knew it already, but I needed to get the black and white, to kind of go through it with y'all. So in Article 4, 8B of the Constitution, that talks about the Attorney General's powers. These are the words that are in it. As necessary for the assertion or protection of the rights and interests of the state, the Attorney General shall have the authority, 1, to institute, prosecute, or intervene in any civil action or proceeding. 2, upon the written request of a district attorney, to advise and assist in the prosecution of any criminal case. And 3, for cause when authorized by the court, which would have jurisdiction and subject to judicial review, to institute and prosecute or intervene in any criminal action or proceeding. So that number 3 part right there, Rex, she does not have to have the district attorney's permission to come into Bossier Parish. She can go to the court, and the court can let her run with the district attorney not even having a clue. The court, she can do it. There is a process. She does not have to have the DA.
Yeah,
So
they did it literally at Cypress.
and to the Cypress district point, here's or intervene in any criminal action or proceeding. That's what Jeff Landry's office did with the Cypress district. He exercised Article 4 8B Part 3 right there that I just read to you. That's what he did. So when Alan Biscuit gets up there and says that's not her role, she can't, that's the DA, that's not true.
Right.
That's not true at all. So,
yeah. Well, and I was just gonna because I don't think we had a cut for that, so hold on just a second, and I'll put it up there as a screenshot. Let me get this out of the way from last week, just to kind of reemphasize the point right here, in case anybody watching wants to look it up. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, she can independently prosecute cases, but she does have to show cause, and she does have to get authorization from the court that would be in that jurisdiction. So in Bossier, she would have to go to a judge in Bossier, and she could get permission to, file a complaint or to try to prosecute somebody. So RS 16.1, let's get into the district attorney and what it says regarding a district attorney. General powers and duties of the district attorney. Quote, except as otherwise provided by law, the district attorney shall have charge of every criminal prosecution by the state in his district. So,
you there?
No, I'm here. I got distracted.
Okay. I thought maybe you were technical issue. You were frozen in time, but
yeah, I think Sadow's correct, but he still exercised that part. Um, additionally, RS 49-251, Attorney General's powers. We're just here again going down what enables and her to take action and under what rules she has to follow and how to do it or whatever. Yeah, the path of getting permission or getting a request of the district attorney, that's obviously, but the biggest point is that there's not any law that absolutely forbids the attorney general from trying to prosecute without DA approval. There's nothing that's out there. There is a process by which she can go about it. So in the notes, there's been 2 court cases that have held, court authorization and the DA request. Did Duke just clone glitch? I don't know. Who knows? But there are 2 cases, that back this thing up in 76 and 1980. And so now I want to change y'all's thinking here. So think about prosecuting and investigating. Because when all the people up here in Bossier, when all of y'all are making complaints and we're sending them down to Liz Merle, I mean, that doesn't mean that they're guilty and they immediately file a charge against somebody. We're sending information regarding wrongdoing or that we believe. So there has to be an investigation, right?
Right.
Well, according to Seabiscuit, no, the attorney general can't do nothing, right? Wrong. There
All
is
right.
nothing, zero, that limits her from doing an investigation, period.
And so I need to correct Mr. Sadow because, Jeff, you're not correct. There was absolutely a case of the state versus Robert Berry. Go back and check your facts. All right, keep going.
Okay. So, again, in Louisiana, in the Louisiana Constitution, the limitation on, the limitation on the AG applies to prosecutions. It in no way applies to an investigation. So the AG could come into Bossier and investigate, gather all the facts, all the data. She could do everything of an investigation, even before going to the court and asking to be able to prosecute something. So this crap of she can't do anything, I'm sorry, don't hold water.
Well, and it only makes sense because otherwise the DAs would be too powerful and would have no check and balance, really, other than at election time. And, well, we see how that's worked out for Skyler. He's been in there however long. But so, yeah, anyway. So what's the final deal with this? Was Seabiscuit blowing hot air, or was he just doing his little yard yapper ankle biter, like somebody said in the comments, Chihuahua yapping? Yep, 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 yep.
Well, I think he's just trying to help the AG because she is beginning to get pushback from us over here in Bossier from the countless people that are making complaints, and he's trying to help her out and carry her water. He don't like us. That's fine. He certainly does. He would prefer us to just shut up, not tell everybody all of this, and have nothing but a bunch of useful idiots out there. There's a lot of politicians that they would prefer that.
Right.
But you're empowered to know the truth that when he's saying this crap, that's not true.
So
it's in the law.
So the crux of this is that he did say the phrase useful idiots. There is some debate amongst people that were at the meeting over what the full context of that was. And in the end, the Republican women of Bossier need to be videoing their speakers when they're there, especially if they're politicians. If you have some private individual that's speaking, look, the Republican Women is a private organization. It's not considered a public meeting. But I would strongly encourage y'all, when our benevolent overlord politicians are there flapping their jaws like Seabiscuit, you need to be recording that. for posterity's sake.
Yeah. Bottom line, a pure investigation, the AG doesn't need the DA's permission. For prosecution or filing a criminal charge, the AG has to either have a written request from the DA or show cause to a court and be authorized by the court. It's not only have the permission of the DA. That's it. And I'm sorry if Alan doesn't know that and the AG doesn't know that, I'll be glad to hold a course for them and show them the law and teach them a little bit of law. I mean,
Jeff is
and if
going
it
to
has,
make me go. Jeff is going to make me go back and pull the damn case numbers. So you're not completely correct, Jeff, no matter how much you want to be. And I will pull that stuff and I can search for it, but I don't have time during the show.
well, I know what Jeff is talking about.
I know what he's talking about. The DA of the AG's office did come in and intervene, but there was a separate case that the state did file. Now,
Right. He's talking about when Patrick Jackson served up the papers to at the meeting and said, we're here to find out if the AG is correct or not.
Yeah, you can blog about it, Jeff. How about that? There you go. There's you something to blog about. Okay. Moving forward. Anyway, moving forward, I suggest again the Republican women start videoing the meetings when public officials, elected officials, are going to speak. But that's just a mere suggestion. Are you a member of the Republican Women of Bossier? Because, they do let guys join.
Yeah, I think so.
I was years ago, but I don't think I've re-upped my membership. I don't go to them anyway.
I have. Well, you're here every Tuesday night when they're having meetings.
So, anyway, all right. So, does that pretty much close out this saga on Seabiscuit?
Yeah, that pretty much did it. I just wanted people to know that, when you hear anyone telling you that the AG can't do anything, that's complete, utter blowing smoke. And when they tell you that, you should take offense to them saying that. And if the AG tells you that they can't do anything, you should know that they're blowing smoke or she's blowing smoke at you as well, too. But 9 times out of 10, if you're from Bossier, the AG's office is just going to ignore you.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true, especially when it comes to, I don't know, what was that term that was used in the court? Oh, malfeasance. There's that. But anyway, I digress. All right.
Well, I'm gotta bite my tongue.
Okay. So, shall we go on to the new and improved council, or shall we do a little reminiscing and remembering our good friend Rusty Lombardino, who we did not always agree with, but he is a good guy?
Yeah, I mean, look, Rusty was a Bossier staple. He always said his piece. He said what he thought. He didn't care. I mean, but the one thing I can tell you about Rusty, if you needed anything or you was in a bind, regardless, and you were his friend, he would be there to help you. I mean, that's that thing. But don't think he wasn't going to argue with you or let you know his opinion.
Oh,
Damn sure was going to do that.
He and I, we agreed on a lot of things, but some things we obviously disagreed on. Look, the whole Vince Maggio deal was one of them. And, picking on Juliana, which was her fault, we disagreed on that. But he was a good guy, and I hate that I still owed him a lunch at the Mexican place over there on Benton Road. Headed up towards Benton, between Bossier and Benton, that place on the right, a taqueria or whatever.
San Miguel's, I think.
Or maybe San Miguel's. Yeah, he introduced me to that place. And then I was supposed to buy him lunch, the next time we met. And, well, I never got that opportunity. So, sad to see Rusty go. The whole thoughts and prayers out to his family and all that. But a good guy.
Yeah, really good guy.
All right. The new and improved council. So, were you impressed by today's council? Did you go to the council meeting?
Oh, absolutely not.
I didn't either.
No, I didn't go there. I didn't go there. I didn't want to. You know,
why go to the council meeting when we can snipe at them from afar through the magic of technology?
that's right. Well, I don't know that there's much sniping to be done. If anything, the only sniping I wanted to do was it was as if there were a few people wanted to go sniping at them right out of the gate.
Yeah, and we're probably gonna make somebody angry that's in her comments. Maybe two people. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying we give them a free pass, but I can tell you from why did I go to the April 2nd, 22nd council meeting? I can tell you that from being at the swearing in ceremony, like we talked about, there was kind of a palpable changing of the guard and excitement there. And so I'm not saying we give them a free pass because look, if Joel or Creighton or Cliff Smith or Miss Deborah, if they do anything we don't agree with or I don't, we're gonna call them out on the show. And we'll try, Miss Jane, to do some positive things every once in a while when they do that as well. But I just don't think right out of the gate we need to be slamming them because look, they did open an investigation right out of the get-go.
Yeah, the first meeting, they're doing earth-shattering things that really haven't even been done in Bossier before, and you put all this work into trying to get these folks in there, and then you're going to start taking shots at them. Man, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know about the wisdom of that.
nah, I don't either, but we'll see. Hey, so you did clue me into one little change in this meeting, and I went back and double checked, and so I want to play it. This is Phyllis's new and improved rules of decorum. Y'all listen closely.
I was listening and I heard it and I said, "Hey, I think something's different there."
Yeah, everybody, y'all see if y'all can spot the change. Listen carefully.
In accordance with Louisiana open meetings laws and the adopted Bossier City Council meeting rules resolution, the City Council asks for order and decorum at our meetings. Please silence your cell phones. Anyone wishing to address the council on any agenda items may approach and state their names and address for the record and shall be permitted 3 minutes to make their comments on the particular item that's up for discussion. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. All other audience members are asked to observe the meeting quietly.
That was it. Did y'all catch that? I mean, maybe she accidentally forgot to read part of it. But there were a couple of words, descriptive words, adjectives that she left out. Can anybody pick out what they were?
Where's Alice Boyer? Where's Miss Alice?
I mean, she didn't seem to be very boisterous during this meeting. Miss Alice, were you were there at the meeting? I know I saw you.
Or slanderous? Where's Wes?
Yeah. Or impertinent. Where's everybody else?
So I guess we can start slandering again. We can start being boisterous, and impertinent. Well, wait a minute. We're already impertinent.
Yeah, that's every Tuesday night for us. So.
Well, we're all useful idiots anyway, so that makes us impertinent, right?
Yeah, but you're absolutely correct, Mr. Lowry. There was a difference in that. Now, I would assume that's on purpose, but I got a question right out of the gate. Who decided that?
I don't know, but it was something that I caught right out of the gate. I listened to some of those little details. Words matter, and that one caught my attention. But Rex, now you may know this, and I don't want you to say it, but I want everyone to look at the screen. Do you notice what do you notice different besides the different councilmen? Something's different.
Wait, is that Tommy? No, that's not Tommy. That's Creighton.
See, I was going to let the people in the comments play the game, but
there's a 10-second delay. We gotta help them out.
You're cheating. It wasn't for you, it was for them.
So I wonder what I guess. Look, maybe I'm just speculating here, maybe Tommy is closer over there to Jacobs and Richard Ray so they can get their damn stories straight before they say anything. So they're right there together. They can get their lies on the same page at least before they open their mouth.
Come on now. I ain't gonna. I can't. Look, don't. You can't be calling them
All right,
liars. Okay?
hold on.
Come
Whoa,
on
whoa, 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 whoa.
now. Be
Look,
nice. Be nice.
I'm
We've
not.
got a
No,
reputation here.
hear me out. I'm not like a politician. I don't say my friend didn't, misspoke. It wasn't a damn misspoke. Jacobs is on record saying during a public meeting that it was because of pile driving and a threatened lawsuit. Tommy is on the record on a radio show saying, oh no, it was because of access and the concrete was uneven or whatever the hell he said. So they got to get their story straight. One of them lied, or both of them. So I'm sorry. It wasn't misspeaking. They didn't have their lie together. So one of y'all lied. It's either Tommy or it's Jacobs or it's both.
But you said they both lied. So, but they can't.
Well,
all right.
Sources say that maybe that's neither of those two scenarios is the actual truth. That's why I'm saying that. We don't have any proof.
Well, I'm just waiting to see how the investigation turns out, and then we'll know the truth. But I'm going to reserve my judgment on what is the truth until we know. But all I do know is that, hey, part of my parking lot just mysteriously got fixed at the office.
Oh, really? Finally?
Part of it is not all done. But part of it is. All of a sudden, there was a bobcat in my parking lot riding around here not long ago. And I was like, oh, okay, well, something's up. And then all of a sudden, come back a couple of days later, and there's cones up and a square cut out and a new little piece of concrete right there. The only problem is they poured concrete over the water meter hole where you got to turn the water thing on. They filled it full of concrete. So they're going to have to come back out and bust the concrete up.
That's crazy. All right, so speaking of parking lots, good segue. Let's listen to the adopting the resolutions for parking lots at today's meeting of the new city council crew.
Adopt a resolution establishing an investigative committee for the Bossier City Council to review the use of public funds for parking lots at Scott's Audio and Bossier Power Equipment and report findings to the City Council. First and final reading.
So move. Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Hammonds, a second by Councilman Cliff Smith. Is there any public comment?
Bueller? Oh, there's a journal.
David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. I think that partially addresses the public perception issues that we have in Bossier City by doing this, but it's being reported to the council. I think one of the other big boiling issues from the past is that for some reason, we keep blocking information from getting to the public. So when people do public information requests for things like that, then we're not getting information. And I think this is a fault of both the mayor's office and the council, that when you block information from going to the public, bad news doesn't get better with age. So it seems like to me, you may have rules, for instance, in this case where Officer Risk Management gets to make decisions that the public is not aware of. There is so much mystery over that whole issue. There's a growing problem in Bossier City. I hope it's stopped. But I think one of the best ways to address these things is to come up with a good public information policy. I think some of these things need to have public press conferences so these people can come and ask questions. Anybody should be able to ask questions. And if your city can't publish the reason that you did something, if they can't get access to alleged legal risks and things like that, and then you take action without the people knowing about it, it upset you. How much do you think that's amplified from the public? I think that needs to be addressed in this. I don't know if this is the time to do it, but I think the mayor's office had a problem with this too, probably. But when you hide information, you create distrust. But thank you for the chance to call. Congratulations.
Yeah. All right. So the colonel's, he's got a little bit of a point, but again, this is virtually a whole new council in many respects. Of course, you got, Maggio, Hammonds, and Smith that are returning, but for all intents and purposes, a whole new council. So let's give them a chance first, is my point, and the reason for listening to the colonel there.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but and this went all over me. Why are we going to get rid of the 90-day sign rule for political stuff? I mean, I would rather us get rid of political signs altogether rather than extend the amount of time that we have to be tortured in Bossier City by political signs. But they were talking about in this meeting, and this is a criticism. They were wanting to do away with the rule on the 90-day thing, and the biggest advocate for doing away with it was Chris, in which I understand it. He's an at-large. He's got the whole city, which means it takes more time to put signs out, blah, blah, blah. But good grief, I don't want to have to look at these damn signs for with no limitation.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, going back to our conversation towards the beginning of the show, it's the whole libertarian side. Should I be able to put up whatever sign I want? I mean, I guess technically nobody owns any of their property. Yeah, I mean, if you think you own your property, just don't pay the property taxes and see how long you actually own it. But I don't know. But then the other side of me agrees with you, Duke, that I don't want to see all the political signs all over the place anyway.
Ruth Pope Johnson said signs don't last in District 5 90 days.
Well, they don't last 90 minutes in District 5, depending on who the sign's for or not. All right.
You got that right.
So I did want to show the vote, though. So just to kind of zigzag just a little bit for a second, I did want to show the vote of adopting the resolution establishing an investigative committee of the Bossier City Council to review the use of public funds for parking lots, blah, blah, blah. Notice it was all 7-4, including Vince Maggio.
Well, I mean, how times have changed.
Yeah.
How times have changed.
Yeah. He goes along with the crowd, just like we said. But anyway.
Well, I think that overall, I mean, I could sense the change in the air. I think things are heading in the right direction. I think their first council meeting out of the gate, they did a good job. Chris handled the meeting flawlessly. The most debate was Hammond's. It was almost like he was being a comedian. I mean, he was actually enjoying himself. I could tell he wasn't uptight. But even though they did a good job with the council meeting, things are heading in the right direction. That still wasn't the best thing today.
Oh, really? Well, what was the best thing today?
The best thing today were these stupid cupcakes that they had out in the lobby and them cookies for the new day in Bossier City. So if you were there, you got one of these cupcakes, and boy, was it sweet. Was it good?
I brought mine home. I set them in there on the kitchen counter so that I wouldn't eat the thing, so I'd have them for the show. And now you just reminded me I forgot the cupcakes.
Oh, Rex, this is so good. I can't believe you don't have one.
Yeah, thanks, dude. You're such a good friend.
This is horrible. I can't believe you. I wonder if Tommy made these.
Very good question. Well, they had the chocolate ones. They had the white cake ones. Got one of each. I have not eaten mine yet, but that's the first thing I'm eating when we get through with the show. Hey, I just want to give a shout out to Miss Deborah Ross as well. At the swearing-in ceremony, she had her whole family and friends, and I guess part of her extended family, I don't know, but they were there to congratulate her. again, kudos to Miss Deborah. Not only is she the first black woman counselor, woman counselor of color, or however the correct phrasing that is these days, but she was very enthusiastic about it, and so was the crowd, and that was excellent. And in the city council meeting, she right off the bat brought up a couple of good points here and there. So I would encourage you to go watch that city council meeting, even though it wasn't drama filled and exciting like some of them have been in the past.
Yeah, it was amazing to see that. I mean, that's what it's all about. She didn't come from a political background. She didn't aspire to be a politician. She was just a regular person. She saw the need and the calling, stepped up to the plate, and just got in the mix.
And waylaid Darby, who had been in there for literally 3 decades.
One of the
Just
oldest
trounced
names in Bossier politics, and trounced him. So, it just goes to show y'all that you just, all you have to do, don't be scared. You just get involved. Just start going to some meetings. You start getting engaged. You just have to take that action. That's what it's all about. And there's nobody out there, just because somebody's been in politics for 50 years, that does not mean that you don't have a voice and you don't have a say. And you see the outcome of people taking action in Bossier today. We've got the first black female council person in Bossier.
Yeah,
it's a good day.
Yep, and look, full kudos and credit to all the other newly seated council persons. Let's see, make sure I get everybody: Creighton Cochran, Joel Gerard, Mr. Cliff Smith, of course, Miss Deborah. Who am I missing? Let's see. Well, I didn't really clap for Vince, but Vince is back in there. Of course, the returning councilman of Chris Smith and Brian Hammonds. And who am I leaving out? I need to go back and look. Anyway, so look, it was overall a good day. Again, just to restate it, it was kind of a new feeling at the swearing-in ceremony, and so we wish them well. I'm cheating and double-checking the video here. I think I got everybody. Anyway, so we wish them well, and look, even though I don't agree with Tommy on a lot of stuff, I will say this, and even though Tommy took credit for the Bossier term limits, sole credit, I will say this: he actually delivered a good speech today. He did a wonderful job delivering that speech.
He did. I'll give him credit. He did do a good job. I thought he was sedated there for a minute because he was kind of going slow. I was kind of like, okay.
I think he was pacing himself and making sure he got it right. So see there, Miss Jane, it's a positive thing again. That's another positive thing. We're going to start keeping a scoreboard of this.
But he did do good. I think that was his best speech that he's given yet.
I tend to agree. All right, Mr. Lauer, you got anything else you want to talk about tonight?
Nope. If you care about duck hunting Thursday night, we are going to have an outdoor news show, and we're going to have a series on waterfowl, or the lack of waterfowl in Louisiana.
And I understand, kind of like Bossier Watch, that's a little bit controversial, so that should be a very interesting show. So if you're interested in that at all, like Duke said, Thursday night, we're going to do it about 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you all for being here.
We're out of here. I am hitting the finish button in 3, 2, 1.